We can start.
Let's go.
Thank you. Yeah, so we can go ahead and start the meeting. Karina can't join us tonight and Counselor Banks can't join us. You may have seen his email. So we've got a quorum, which is good. With a couple things to discuss, I think fairly short night tonight. But the first thing, just administrative, is to approve the meeting minutes from February. So thank you for sending those out, Rachel. So can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our February meeting?
Can I motion if
I didn't get a chance to read them, so
Okay.
that's my bad. So I'm gonna be silent on that one.
can motion my own minutes, can I?
Well,
Yeah, you can.
well, we have two that can do something.
So moved.
All right, a second.
That's all right.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
I think you can. I don't know what you can.
Actually, I couldn't open
You
No,
will.
really?
it.
Oh,
For some reason, it just sort of,
I
I
just.
clicked on it and
I
it
just
showed a
have
blank
to
screen.
read them.
All right, so then normally we would ask Counselor Banks to give us a little update on what's happening with the city council, but he had a last minute change of schedule and he's so good. I mean, I really appreciate him. And we've had Counselor Parker, who we've been so lucky with, have very actively involved council liaisons. Not all boards and commissions have that. So I really appreciate their support and their time commitment to all of this. So anyway, he was apologetic, and some of you probably saw his email. Normally I would give a quick planning commission update, but we've been doing some administrative things behind the scenes, just reviewing roles and responsibilities and things we can do and things we can't do, because we've got a number of significant applications coming up and then in the few months, and we've also got some new members. So we've been just sort of gearing up for that. So nothing new there. But basically to talk about the primary subject of tonight's meeting, and Counselor Banks sent out a note, which I appreciate very much, but he didn't realize that we hadn't discussed the topic. So he sort of let the elephant out of the room. But so I want to talk about, there's many words you can use for this: to stop meeting, and to disband, if you want to call it that. Another word might be I don't know what, there's lots of words for it, and I don't want people to get hung up on the word, but I think this is a time when our HLC has run its course, so to speak. And what that means specifically, what words people want to use is, fine. It's not up to me, it's up to all of us if we want to keep meeting. It's up to the city what to do about that. But let me just say a couple quick words and then get your thoughts. So why now? This group has been in existence for 9 years, which is great. A lot of boards and commissions don't exist that long. And some of you have been active a lot longer than I have. I'm going on 5 years, and I'm kind of the baby of the group, really. So that's fantastic. And there's been a number of really good, amazing deliverables over the years, which we talked about last month, as all the great work that's been done and the legacy that's left and the value that offers from a heritage perspective in the city. But right now is the time when I have finished up all loose ends that were work in progress. So for instance, the last grant report was due in February, and I wrote that grant report and I gave that to Tyler, who entered it in the state grant system. So that's great. So that's check off the list. This is also the time of year where we would be talking about big projects that we want to take on and applying for grants for those projects. And a lot of those the grants that we typically get are 18-month, they're an 18-month calendar period. So if we agreed on a project and applied for a grant, that would set us up for an 18-month effort, not continuous, but something that has to be done now and over the next few months, and then finishing up 18 months from now. And personally, I can't do that right now. I'm focusing my efforts in the next 12 months on the Mark Prairie School, which is a whole nother topic. So other grants are off my list right now. So I thought, well, we also, as some of you know, we've been trying to recruit a member for 2 years. We've had an opening, and We haven't been able, even though Carol and I have talked to people every time we're in the Canby Historical Society or with the Kiwanis meetings or Rotary or whatever, people don't like to make eye contact because we're always trying to recruit them. And, people that have asked about their historic homes were like, well, do you want to join us? It's been really hard. So for some reason, it's just not a priority for a lot of people right now. And I get it. I totally get it. These things wax and wane, and that's fine. So, so my proposal is we stop meeting, and what that means can be many different things, but to not feel bad about it, because this group has, been strong and accomplished a lot. And sometimes the strongest groups are those that say, okay, let's just stop right now. It takes a strong leader and a strong group to do that. And I could continue to call meetings. I'm not quite sure what we would talk about, honestly, but so anyway, having said that, a little bit of a bombshell, but I have talked to Carol about it, Carol Palmer. I talked to Don Hardy, he's, that heads up the planning commission, and Jamie knows, and a few other people know. So just to get kind of people's thoughts who've been involved with this for a long, long time. So what are your thoughts?
I guess I'll jump in. I've probably, besides Doug, I think I've been on the board longer than anyone else here, or, about a year longer than you, Judy, or so. So my first question would be, and I can't remember right off the top of my head, you may know, is what's the minimum amount of meetings that we have to actually have per year? Is it 4 or is it 2?
I think that I do not know that off the top of my head.
Okay, because there is a minimum that you have to do.
Right.
And I don't know if that's something that is written in stone or could be changed.
It's different, but for all of the different committees, so I would have to look that up. But I
If
can
it's
get that
like
to get it.
a bi-yearly meeting, like once every 6 months to just touch bases, or if it could be on a basis of, and I'm just throwing out options here, a basis of, if there is a, some sort of design review that we have to do, or something comes up, that would of course be different. But if there was a minimum amount that we can figure out how many meetings we have to have, that would be a good starting point to know. I personally, I completely understand where you're coming from, Judy. I, having been vice president or vice chair and chair for a while, it's a heck of a lot of work. You have to run the meetings. There's a lot of things that have to be done. Myself, I put my time in, and then I decided to step back and, just kind of assist. And even that, for me, sometimes being able to get here and deal, it seems like more things keep coming up rather than less things. And I thought I was semi-retired. So that's a thing. So it's time. My personal hope would be that this continue to be a commission, but we have to have new people coming in and running it. It can't be the same people now anymore. So I've been a little bit disappointed, and I'll say it out loud, that nobody else has really stepped up and said, I'll take it over. It seems to be me, Judy, Carol went, so we've got to have new people coming in and saying, hey, I'll take this thing over. And so and I don't mean just the people that are here. I'm not pointing fingers at people here. I mean, just everybody in general that is interested in this aspect of our city. So that it's disappointed me. And I know there's a lot of people out there that care, but you have to really put the time in. And I don't know if it's people are scared of the idea of it, like they don't understand it, because it's pretty complicated, and it can be, there's a lot to learn. Or whether that's the issue, or whether they're just really, truly, people just don't have time anymore. And I get both of them. So that's I don't want to ramble on forever, but I think my time is gone, besides just consulting on anything that happens. And Carol's got other things to do, and Judy, you've got your hands full with other things, and I commend that. You're doing a lot. So we've got to have either figure out a way to do it on a minimal basis and when needed, or get new people to come in that are excited about it and have them take it over. That's my opinion.
To kind
What
of
do you think,
piggyback
Rachel?
off of what you were saying, that was gonna be my question. Is it a matter of it's we just run out of work, or is it a matter of it's just too much, or is it a matter of you need someone new, or because I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to continue. And I'm putting myself out there because it's the type of person I am. I wouldn't be opposed to leading the group. My only concern is I don't have a lot of the background in like the grant writing and what I would need to necessarily do, and people may not want me to do it too. I mean, maybe, I don't know, her to do, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I don't think that's the case, but of people wanting, I mean, anybody can step forward.
I'm
I
just a
mean,
little, the only thing that concerns me is the volume of work. I mean, I have a lot of other stuff that I do.
And I guess I'll just jump in here a little bit because, so as Judy said, if there are things that have been kind of tied up, that might be a great opportunity for someone like you to step forward. I'm not necessarily saying it has to be you, but for someone who might not feel like they have all of the background, but has the desire to see things continue. As Councillor Banks said in that email, and I had shared with Judy, because it's appointed by the city council and it's within the code and it's a review body, which makes it legislative. If everybody decided tonight that they're done with the committee, the committee itself still remains and the city would continue to recruit for those positions. And I understand we've been down a person, but you know, in 2012, it had laid, or 2013 rather, it had laid dormant for about 10 years. And at that time, you know, Carol Palmer did join. She definitely has a background, but it was more about at first getting people together to be able to have a quorum, and then, you know, being able to determine what steps to move forward on and what projects to take on. So if there aren't any projects in the hopper, it's actually a nice time, because then if it were you or you and some of these members or whatever that looks like, all new members, it's a time, it's kind of a clean slate. And the state also has a lot of different trainings and those kinds of things where they would be able to help provide some foundational things to whoever wanted to step up into that leadership position.
To tag onto that, but if everybody wants to be done, I'm fully on board with that too. I don't want to be like, we have to continue. I just
I
was,
think it's a very individual decision, really.
Yeah, and
It doesn't have to be everybody or one, it doesn't, yeah,
okay, so I thought I'd put that out there.
thank you.
yeah, I don't know what it is in the code as far as kicking it back to the planning commission. As far as the duties of the HLC, and I know that has to be voted on, and I know that would have to be a change to the city code entirely. So that, I mean, that's another thing. I understand the disbanding thing. But like, I agree with you on that. You would have to, whoever didn't want to do it anymore would just have to resign, and that would be fine.
And in speaking with the city administrator and the city attorney and Don Hardy, if everybody decided to be done at this point and resign, and there is a process to do that, which is that you would write a resignation letter to Maya Benham, which I will provide. I mean, I think you guys all have her contact information, but you would just write a letter, email that to her, and to let her know that you're formally resigning. But speaking with those folks, if it took us 6 months or a year or even 6 years to get a working Heritage and Landmarks Commission again, then if a review, you know, if someone wanted to demolish a building that was on our historic register, that would then go to the Planning Commission. But if everybody were to resign, it wouldn't just be that the things would change, that the Planning Commission would take on these duties. We would just start recruiting.
So also to your point, Rachel, about things to do projects to look at. I think what Judy, and correct me if I'm wrong, Judy, what you were trying to say is we're kind of at an impasse as far as things
Okay.
to
That's fair.
do, but there's always things. I mean, there's always things you can find. I mean, look at other cities, what they've done. We have a preservation plan now that has a lot of directive in there. So there's always something, but it has to be something, you'd have to come up with.
Yeah, it can't just be little.
It
has to
it could be
a-
little, it doesn't have to be huge, but there, you know, you'd have to really, people would have to be passionate about it, is what I'm saying. There'd have to be things, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Right now, we're at a lull. Because we, you know, we did get a lot of stuff done. And, you know, we kicked the preservation plan into the, into the, you know, group. And so that's where we're at. So what I'm saying is people need to be excited about doing that, and they need to try to see what they can think of that they want to pursue.
Yep.
That's the thing. It's not just going to fly out of thin air. It has to be digging.
And the projects have been, you know, how you were saying, like it couldn't be I think you said a small thing, like sometimes the small things are the easiest to accomplish first. Like maybe it's that if we're gonna recruit members and do a headstone cleaning, because there's still headstones to be cleaned in Zion. Like that's actually a lot. And especially for a first year, if it's in the transition of determining, not every project has to be the preservation plan level. Sometimes, some of the things that might seem smaller, sometimes those have impacts in ways that we don't realize, that people become more active or they become more aware because we, knitted something in the same vein of that they did when the platting of the town happened or something, and like gave those away.
Mhm.
Like whatever it is that works for the group could then sometimes be used as a way to be like, heritage doesn't just look like this, it also looks like this project or this, we didn't know when we started that we would come up with a preservation plan, but we certainly didn't even know that we would do a women's heritage trail. And we didn't even know that we would need, intensive level surveys. I didn't know what that was. And like, there's worth in all of those. So, the nice thing about, I think, a lot of this heritage work from over the years is that they're building blocks. So what has happened in the past, not just the history, but the actual work that's happened with the Heritage and Landmark Commission, that all serves as building blocks. So if it's like, oh, this project really is interesting to me, so I want to see what other things we can do to complement that, and it fits within our preservation plan, because it helps to make sure that people are aware of the cultural resources. Maybe it's that we decide that we want to, just work on creating a group and getting training and meet the minimum. And I tried to look, but I found it on the code. I just don't know exactly.
It's in my binder, but of course I did not bring that.
Okay. But, if it's just that we're going to meet to have a quorum, identify some projects and get some training for the new members and for people who have been with us, like that's great too. I could imagine that a couple of meetings would talk about the great work that's happened over the course of the last 10 years that, people have no idea have happened. And so I think that there's the ability to morph it into something that still continues the good work. And, the good work doesn't have to look exactly today as it did yesterday. It doesn't have to be the preservation plan all in. It can be, we're going to work on a couple intensive level surveys with a consultant, something like that.
I feel like it's 4. Honestly, it's still.
I was thinking the same thing. 4. I don't know
My brain
why.
is triggering 4. It's saying 4, screaming at me 4, but I don't
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't remember.
That's like once.
The other thing to think about is from a state perspective, we've been getting these CLG grants, and that's what's been paying for the reconnaissance surveys and the intensive level surveys. And there's also a state definition of what an active HLC is to qualify for those, if the city wanted to keep, trying to apply for those grants. So they have a definition too that I don't remember what it is. It might just say active. I don't know. But then the city also has funding too, that they, it doesn't have to be a CLG grant that funds those, but that's the way it's been in the last, 8 years.
Judy, do you know if it's written in there on paying an outside person to write the grant? Like,
There's no restriction about that. No,
okay,
yeah.
I'm thinking out loud because that's one of the most, I mean, that takes time.
Well, from my personal perspective, the most time consuming thing is managing the projects. But as Jamie said, they don't have to be big projects, but even managing Zion every year, it's a lot of work. And unless you looked at the project plan, which I know some of you have seen it, it's a lot of work. But it's, you know, a short period of time. It's like 3 months of work. But managing the grant projects is a lot more work than most people recognize, and it's more work than writing the grant application. Actually, the grant reporting is, anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, for many people, it's not visible. This came up not long ago at the Planning Commission. Somebody said, oh, just get a grant. And I thought, well, that's the easy part. Find all the people to do the rest and you're golden, you know, that's the hard part. And it's just because it's time consuming and everybody's got a million things on their plate, you know, 20 pounds of work in a 10-pound bag. And there's no shame in that. It just, it's a matter of knowing what it takes to get these things done at a detailed level. And I didn't know any of that either in the beginning. When I signed, I think, was it Tony Crawford asked me if I would take over the cemetery stuff. I had no idea. And I didn't do my due diligence. And you know, you don't hear me complain a lot about it, but it is a lot more work than people realize, a lot of coordination and, you know, talking to, you know, social media and putting things in the newspaper and trying to get volunteers and trying to get volunteers and trying to get volunteers and make sure things are done that the state needs done. Anyway, there's a lot, the devil's in the detail, I guess, as it is with anything. Doug, I know last time you were up for your, you know, your term was going to expire and you had second thoughts too. Do you have any thoughts about that now or?
I don't think so. I re-upped.
I know you did.
Was that a year and a half ago?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
been-
it takes a village, like anything, it takes a village. And I think as Jen touched on, we need some new folks in the village.
Yeah,
It's good to have new perspectives.
I guess we're kind of working ourselves out of a job.
Ron?
Oh, well, I don't know if you want to talk to.
That sounds serious, Ron. That would terrify me. If I was-
My phone always scares me too.
Don't call. The first thing I heard about that was when I got the agenda. And I wasn't quite sure about it until I got the email from Chris Bangs tonight. And I'm totally opposed. And I mentioned that the health issues I've had in the last year have kept me away. And I just don't feel right about it. Right now, my hearing isn't. I really don't know what goes on until I listen to it online, and I don't have a voice either. So I've been opposed to it, but then I don't know how much I can contribute.
It's valid.
Yeah, very much so. And I think you've been an active member, Ron. I know you've had your challenges, but you always show up and you do what you can do as does anyone. And so I don't want that to, I just don't want it to feel like you haven't participated or contributed, because you certainly have. So we all do it in the way we can, as much as we can. And that's been the strength of this group, I think. We all pitch in different ways. So also, I don't know if I mentioned it, why now for me, I'm going to be actively working with Mark Prairie School, who I don't know if you've seen, they are in desperate need of help. They're looking for 30 volunteers. That's 30 for many, many different things. You know, they've been working at trying to, well, you know, they've been at it 2 years to try to restore the building, and working with the county and working with contractors. They've made tremendous progress, but they've had some big setbacks with recently changed county requirements. Anyway, it's a huge challenge. So I'm going to focus my efforts on working with them. That's not an HLC thing, because they are a nonprofit. And so we wouldn't do something on behalf of the city, behalf of the HLC with a nonprofit. Typically, they need grants, but the grants are from a nonprofit perspective. And they need a lot of other things too. So they have a desperate need. And so for the next probably year, I'll focus my efforts on trying to help them get over this mess, this hurdle of trying to get everything finished up and get reopened. And anyway, it's a huge challenge. So I feel really badly for them. And they've been at it for so long, and heads down, and grants, and oh my gosh, and contractors, and changing rules from the county. They're starting to get a little burned out, and I don't blame them. So that's one reason that they're looking for help, is to try to get over this last hurdle. They hope to be able to reopen sometime in the summer, which is, I think, optimistic. But anyway, so that's where I'm focusing my efforts right now to help them.
Have we just had one meeting this year so far? Just February,
This will
right?
be- Yeah, February.
This is the second one. Okay.
Well, so I guess moving forward then, I guess I probably should have looked it up ahead of time, because I don't know how many meetings a year this group needs to be considered, you know, active from a city perspective, because it is in the code. 8 years ago, or was it 9 years ago? Somebody will remember better than me. That's when the city code changed to take the heritage piece of planning code and make it, some parts of it, the responsibility of the HLC. So that happened 8 years ago. And that can be changed again if people desire that or want that. It sounds like people don't, and that's fine too. So it's just a matter of the city deciding how to move forward when the group decides how to move forward. I will resign my position. If you want me to call another meeting between my term ends in June. So if somebody wants me to call another meeting, I can, but it doesn't sound like that would be very fruitful. So in the meantime, just to expedite things, I'll go ahead and resign my position. And then the group will need to regroup with new leadership and new members or additional members.
Can we meet if we're short? That would be two.
So here's my proposal. I appreciate you being candid, Judy, about that, and also everything that you've done. I think you've done a fabulous job. I support you in, you know, whichever way you want to move forward. I would propose that we meet on the next quarter. We've already fulfilled, I'm almost positive it's 4, but if it's different, we can find that out. We've already fulfilled 2 for this year. I would propose that we meet again in July. And the first Monday in July is the 3rd, which isn't going to be a good idea, probably. But we could move it to the 10th the next week. So that's Monday, July 10th. And then at that point, whoever wishes to resign has plenty of time to think about it. We don't have anything on the plate that we have to do right now.
Right.
We can meet at that time in July, and then in between then we can put something.
So what day the interview?
July 10th is what I'm
July 10th.
proposing. Don't write anything down. But I mean, it could be August. It could also be August as well. But I'm just picking July because that would be the next quarter.
Yep.
And then if we had a meeting in July, regrouped. The last meeting, July, August, September, October would be the final meeting of the year. So that's where I'm kind of going with this. And in between then, if people want to resign their position, then they can. They've got lots of time to think about it.
And I'll send out Maya's contact information. Maya's
Yes.
the city recorder. And so I'll just send that out to the
Yeah.
group. Should anybody want to, but again, I got it.
Yes. And then the other part of that is if anybody is interested in certain projects, we can throw that out into an email. And it can be a somewhat informal meeting in July, in that we won't probably have a chair, and that's okay.
So nowhere they don't July.
Correct. What I'm proposing, Ron, is to not have it stay together, and whoever wants to resign can resign, and Judy is going to probably do that and step down. And then we don't, if we only have to have 4 meetings a year, we've already done 2 for the year. So I'm proposing wait until July, which would be the next quarter, to meet again. And at that time, we will either have more new people, we can get new people in, we can put out a call for that. And at that time, we can meet again and go over everything again and decide where we're at then, and just let it sit for a minute.
I agree with that.
Because things might change between there. But I think this is a really, really good impetus for everybody to realize where we're at right now and decide what they want to do. And that also gives Karina a chance to hear the meeting. You know, so I mean, that's too, we got to think about her, what her feelings are here too. So that gives a chance for everybody to decide kind of what they want to do. And then we can get together with Chris then, and when he's able to be here, hopefully, and if that date doesn't work, then that's fine, but I think we should do it sometime in July. Or at the very latest, that first week in August. That's what I'm throwing that out there.
I think that's a good idea.
So- I don't think we need to do any voting on that. I think it can be a verbal, if that's okay with everybody. Is that okay with you, Ron? Okay. Doug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Judy?
Quorum is 4. But in talking with Carol in the early days, there's like the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. So in the early days of the HLC, they didn't always have a quorum, and they met anyway. It may be that, if you're voting on something that's related to, registered property, well, then of course you need a quorum or a public hearing or something. But in all of the different boards and commissions and committees, they try to honor that, but it doesn't always happen. We've always had a quorum, which is nice. As long as I've been part, we've always had a quorum.
Yeah, I think technically we're really only deciding when the next meeting is.
Right.
Technically. So,
Exactly.
But we're gonna skip the quarter, April, May, June.
I think so. I don't think there's any reason for us to meet then, and that gives people time to think about what they want to do, and perhaps we'll meet some people that we can get. It does open up a out of the city position, if that's still a thing.
It is.
Which seems to be most of the people. We have had people that are interested. That's the
Yeah,
thing,
it's just-
but
We've had people apply that we've had to turn down.
yeah, we've met our amount for and people that are outside the city limits. Because I'm counting as one, even though I'm literally
Just
a stone's throw.
Right.
And Karina is, and Judy. So there's that, maybe that will help. So that's my proposal anyway, so.
We were just to put some light, make some, I don't know. We were talking at the planning commission because there's a lot of activity going on in Canby right now. Good stuff, great stuff. My gosh. And how to get citizens interested and involved. And I'm sure Jamie, you hear and talk about this a lot too. It's hard. Just the communication is hard. And so someone jokingly on the planning commission said, well, maybe if we just build a skyscraper right in the middle of town, people will wake up. Like, oh my gosh, we got to do something about it. I thought that was funny.
It is definitely hard. And, the thing that I was thinking once I spoke with Scott and Joe is just that we were able to build a committee in 2013 and I barely knew a soul. And so I'm like, now I know people, and there are people who maybe they don't understand. They think history as being a textbook, not an action. And this is such an action-oriented committee, and that's done so much work over the last 10 years or so. And I mean, and before in different iteration, but I'm like, there are people that I think once they start to understand more of the action that has happened and can happen, I anticipate that we can find someone who goes, oh, I thought it was just a textbook, or I thought it was just, something that I wasn't interested in, but I am interested in women's history, or I am interested in, gravestone or whatever it might be. So I've been racking my brain just to think of who I know and how to shake them into action, because that's what we need, is some more action oriented people to fill the gaps that we have and potentially will have.
Yeah.
I'm
There's a lot of interest, when we have presentations for the Kiwanis or whoever, or things come out in the newspaper, John Baker, who's the editor, one of the editors, he writes such great articles for us, and I'll get emails from people. So there is a lot of interest. It's just, I think what we heard earlier is the rubber hits the road with the details. And that's where it gets a little challenging. But yeah, that'd be great if people could like perk up and say, okay, maybe I can be part of that, or do something with that, or maybe learn how to write a grant request or write a grant report or something. That'd be awesome. All right, so that sounds like there's a way forward. Thank you, Jen, for kind of taking the lead on that and thinking outside the box about what can be done in the future. And I'm sure we'll see each other around. One thing I had said earlier, I sent a note to Mayor Hodson. I said, nobody's going anywhere. Don Hardy has Carol on speed dial. I plan to be part of the planning commission as long as they'll have me. The city had a question about a cemetery project, and they contacted me and said, hey, are you still involved in cemeteries? So people know who to call. And it's not to say people can't get involved informally. It doesn't have to be formal. And just like I had the advantage of working with Jen and Carol and Doug when I came on board, there's nothing to say that if somebody new wanted help, there's plenty of people to help, how to navigate the grant process and how to write a grant request, or how to, here's the project plan of the last time we did this. Nobody has to reinvent the wheel because nobody's going anywhere. So that's a good thing. That's a positive, I think. Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah, I should probably advertise.
Yeah. That's what you got going. Oh,
Oregon Trail Pitch Pipers,
State.
March 18th, 3:30 at the Fine Arts Center.
Nice.
You can buy your tickets online. Buy your tickets online, buy them at the door. You can buy them for me. I got some right now.
Nice.
But yeah, this will be our first one since 2019.
oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, we were just about ready to hold a show on the 14th of March, 3 years ago, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, we can't do that.
What is that again?
Pardon me?
What is that?
Here, let me give you one. Here. So we've still been rehearsing the songs, and we've sung them every now and then at a nursing home, care home, something like that. So we've been active, kind of.
And how long have the Pitch Pipers been around? Long time.
The story is that 1965, some guys met at each other's homes to run and sing barbershop. 1966, sent a letter to the society headquarters requesting a charter. Got a very nice letter back. Thank you for your interest in chartering with the Society for the Preservation and Encouragement of Barbershop Quartet Singing in America. But it's been our experience, this is 1966, that towns of less than 10,000 cannot adequately support a barbershop chapter and chorus. Well, we didn't listen. We chartered May 2nd, 1967. with 30 men.
Wow.
17 months later, with more than 50 men on the risers. In Spokane, we were Evergreen District Champion Chorus. 1982, we were a 3/4 century chapter.
Wow.
We're the only chapter larger than us in our district, which includes British Columbia, Alberta, and Alaska, was Calgary. And think about that. We were bigger than Roseburg, Eugene, Salem, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver.
That's amazing.
We've gone down a little bit since then.
Great.
And something else I'll toss out too, probably starting about May, when Cutsforth has their car show, we'll bring our strawberry shortcake. with.
Yay.
So we'll be
As
there.
part of first Thursday night market.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, good gracious.
Tyler got him on board.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I'm sorry for doing this remotely. I thought about maybe postponing the meeting till I got back, but I thought, I don't know. I'm, you know me, I like to get things done. Check things off the list. The other thing I guess I would quickly mention, in terms of records, so where is all the information about what we've been doing? And, you know, of course, I have it all and Carol has a lot of it too. But the city has, or should have, I know it's just something to validate, all the survey data that's been done, contracts, the grant reports that have been done, but I have all those too, and project plan. I probably have, you know, I have a lot of detail like project plans and press releases and examples of, you know, what's been done on social media. So if somebody wants copies of all that now, I'm happy to do that, or, you know, on demand at request, you know, I have it all. But also the city should have all of that on their files as well. So just so you know, it's not, there's, you know, people don't have to reinvent the wheel with anything.
And if there's anything that you think that is like, maybe not a grant report, which is definitely something, but like something that might have been overlooked, like a project overview that Tyler is great about saving things. But you know, we've had staff that have come and gone. So if there's
Yeah.
anything like that, we can, once you're back, we can find a time to, you know, I can get a thumb drive from you and download it and take those, if there's anything.
Okay, that sounds great.
Great.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, I'm sure we'll see each other around. Like I said, none of us are going anywhere. At least I'm not. I don't think any of you are. So it's been a real pleasure. I've learned a lot from all of you. You know, I was new to Canby when I joined the group, and what a great group to be part of, to really embrace your community in so many ways. So I was very lucky that there was an opening, and, you know, I said, I don't know anything about heritage and I don't know anything about Canby.
I know.
But here's what I can do. I can do projects, I can do PowerPoints, you know, anyway. So there's a fit for everybody everywhere. And it was such a great opportunity to work with all of you. And I'm sure our paths will cross again. You know, if you happen to drive by Mark Prairie School, well, I'll be out there painting, or who knows what the heck we'll be doing anyway, selling pies or something, I don't know. Anyway, so thank you all again. As we talked last month, Amy, we spent a bit of time just, you know, reflecting on the last year and the last few years about what great work this group has done. And most of that predates my time. So I can't thank everybody enough on behalf of just myself and also the city and everybody. So
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Thank you, Jamie, for coming in tonight. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I think I'm
All right.
right.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Around. Meet you for shortcake.
Uh-huh.
I can't-
Oh, yeah.
I can't even write